When I was younger, I was terrified of the cosmos. I was terrified of how large it was. I was, more than anything, concerned with my own significance, or rather, my own insignificance. And it's a scary thing to look up at the stars, and behind that awe and that wonder at the beauty of it, there lies a fear of, what does my life matter? What does any of this matter, considering what's up there, or really how small my actions are? And this feeling of existential pointlessness or smallness is something that I struggled with personally for a long time, and I think a lot of Western civilization struggles with today. And this is something that really gets kick-started, or the early inklings of this. They go back as far as Galileo, and really as far as Copernicus, with that realization that we are not the center of the cosmos. We are rotating around the sun, rotating around a galaxy, in a cluster, and this is paralleled, this panic around this, where do we stand in the cosmos, is really paralleled with a psychological fear that the ego has, to not being the one in charge, to not being at the center of things. And so this realization that our planet, and later that our species, is really not at the center of this universe. In fact, it is a far-flung bud on a twig, on a branch of the exploding phenomena which is the universe, is something that kindles panic in a mind that, in an ego that is unprepared to face this reality, and really in an ego that finds itself in a culture that is unprepared to face this reality. And that is the culture, the kind of culture that we find ourselves in. I spoke with an Aborigines philosopher, thinker, whatever you might call him, Tyler Yunkaporta, and he said that this panic, this question, this existential distress about who are we, what is our meaning, what are we doing here? These are questions of an adolescent civilization. And in a sense, he's right. The civilization that we find ourselves in, for all its power, for all its ingenuity and ability, is still an incredibly young civilization. And it is insecure in many ways that an adolescent is insecure. And Yunkaporta contrasts this youth, the youth of our civilization, with more earth-based societies, more societies that are based in the cycles of nature, that draw their wisdom from traditions and spiritual connection to land, to sky, to water, that date back hundreds and thousands of years, or maybe even tens of thousands. Because that is a way of living, not to say that any particular tradition has lasted that long, but it is a way of relating to the universe that is totally different than the way that we, in our modern society, relate. And so there is this angst, this existential dread. And H.P. Lovecraft capitalizes on this tremendously in his writing, where he basically was one of the founders of cosmic horror, this genre of fiction that looked at the universe as having these giant entities, massive, old, ancient beings that have no concern for human life, barely know it exists, and if they sneeze, they would wipe out the whole solar system. And his inspiration for this very bleak, feeling nihilistic kind of mythology was modern physics. H.P. Lovecraft read a lot of the modern physics magazines that were coming out at the time. And what was, coming out were the theory of relativity, Einstein's general and special relativity, quantum mechanics was just being formed, the theories around that were just being formulated, and telescopes were getting good enough to start to look out into the vast beyond and realize just how vast the universe actually is. And at the same token, just how small human beings really are. And this sense of cosmic horror, cosmic dread, that I believe there's a reason why in recent decades there's been a resurgence of popularity of H.P. Lovecraft, because we are having to grapple with again and again as we peer further and further out into the depths of space with our smallness. And fortunately, there is a way out. Or rather, there's no way out, but there's a way to look out at the reality of things and find peace and find solace. And one of the realizations that I first came upon that really brought this home to me was when we're thinking about meaning. We're looking out at the world, and we feel as if, my life is so small, I'll never amount to anything. And mind you, this also happens on the level of, societal, social hierarchy. I'll never become famous. I'll never get 1 million, 5 million, views on my YouTube channel. I'll never do this. I'll never do that. I'll never be rich. I'll never be remembered. These are not just cosmic questions. They are, again, psychological questions that we have to face, and really is the source of a lot of suffering in today's society. The first thing to remember is that meaning does not depend on scale, and it does not depend on impact. There's a paper that I read that was talking about this, a philosophy paper, and the metaphor that it used was, think about this. Jupiter is out there right now, spinning somewhere in the solar system. For all of its mass, gases, temperature, all of the stuff that is Jupiter, it has on its own not an iota of meaning that we do not provide it. And similarly, when we compare Jupiter to, let's say, our mother is going to have an immensely more dense, rich amounts of meaning in her, around her. She is far more meaningful to us our mother than Jupiter ever will be. And this is pointing at something that is really fundamental to what meaning is and how it works. It is not something out there. It is something that human beings provide to the world. We project it onto it. We create it. We are the sources of it. And in a sense, that is our godly power, one of our divine powers. We love to project humans' own abilities out onto mythological deities. But in reality, we are the creators. We are the point of genesis of any meaning that exists in the universe. Now, it could be that there are other species, other creatures, other alien life forms out there that create meaning in similar ways. But for all we know right now, we're the only ones that we've encountered. And in that sense, small as we are, few of us in number though we may be, we are possibly the most meaningful things in this universe that we so far know of. And it may be that we are the only ones that make meaning in quite this way. And so, recontextualizing and looking at meaning not as a function of scale, how big we are, or impact, how much we will change the world around us. Remember, Jupiter has huge amounts of, impact, influence on the moons, these massive moons that are orbiting around it, on the orbits of other planets in the solar system. And yet our mother has far more meaning for us than Jupiter ever will, even though Jupiter has far more influence physically than our mother. So there's that aspect of looking out at space and the cosmos that I find immensely clarifying. But we can go even further than that. When we realize that the universe is vast without limit, on a physical level, we realize there is no center to it. So at any moment that we exist at essentially the center of the universe. Any point in it is its center. Just like if you had a perfectly round sphere, any point you stood on that sphere, you could call that the North Pole of that sphere, the center of that sphere. Because it looks the same from every single direction. And from what we can tell, that is physically the universe in which we live in. It looks the same regardless of where you stand. Dropping even further down, the metaphor of waves on an ocean is something that I return to again and again in my writing, in my thinking, and it's an image that I believe originates from Schopenhauer. And Schopenhauer talks about how we are each like a wave on the ocean. There is no definitive place where one of us stops and another one begins. We flow, and we have, you look, where's the bottom of a wave? Where is the bottom of a wave? Where does one stop? Where does one begin? Really, it is a pattern. It is a pattern of energy. It is a structure in this oceanic medium. And it has momentum. It's going somewhere, but it has, in reality, it's the ocean itself doing the oceanic thing, the oceanic dance. And in the same way, we are part of the cosmic ocean. We are waves, patterns, structures of energy that exist and are moving through the cosmic ocean. And realizing this, recognizing this, and really feeling it and understanding this on an embodied level, we can let go. We can let go of so much pretension, of so much of our burden that we place on ourselves to know what our lives are supposed to mean, or where we're supposed to be going, or that we must amount to something and be someone to be remembered. No wave is ever remembered. It crashes on a shore and returns to the ocean. The ocean, however, remains. All waves disappear, but the ocean is forever. And this shift is more profound than the intellectual shift of realizing that meaning is not dependent on scale or influence, because it is fundamentally a shift in the way that the ego, the psyche, understands its relationship to the universe, to everything around it. It is no longer a hard shell of this is me and that is other. It is this is us. This is we. And in that way, it ceases to matter. It just stops to matter. Whether your name, whether your face, whether your life is meaningful in the grand scheme of things. Because every single wave contributes to the ocean. Every single drop in the ocean sustains the whole thing. If a single wave were somehow not allowed to exist, then all waves could not exist. If a single drop disappeared from existence, then all other drops would have to disappear as well. Because there's fundamentally no difference between one or another. If a single electron could not exist, then no electrons could exist. And this is more, I'm not talking about particle physics here, this is more fundamental. This is what Buddhism is talking about when it's talking about dependent co-origination, which is just a complicated way of saying that every part of existence holds and maintains every other part. If one part was to fall out, then the whole thing would crumble. So, in living your life, merely by existing, you are one of the many billions and trillions and quadrillions of puzzle pieces that are keeping the universe together, that are sustaining this entire world. And I'm not just talking about the human world. I'm talking about the universe itself. And so there's this archetype of the magician that Robert Moore and Douglas Gillette, these two Jungian psychologists, write a lot about. And they say that the magician is someone that, I'm paraphrasing here, but someone that feels themselves at home in the cosmos. I think I'm borrowing from Carl Sagan there. But it's very true. A magician, someone that studies both the human soul and the nature of reality and existence, feels that they are at home in the cosmos. That anywhere they go, any room they enter, any planet they visit, any far-reaching star they find themselves orbiting around, they are at home. Because they know that they are no different than any of this. They are the center. And anywhere they are, at any moment, they find themselves at the center of reality. So if you find yourself lost, distressed about whether you'll amount to anything in this life, take a breath and remember you are quite literally at the center of the universe. So walk as if you're already there, as Alan Watts suggests. Walk as if you have already arrived, because in that sense, you got nowhere to go. If you liked this video, go ahead and give it a like and subscribe to my channel. It's a young channel, and I'm excited to produce a lot more content like this. If you would like to work with me one-on-one, follow me on Instagram and send me a message. The link is down below in the description. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video.